The funeral was silent until the soldier's loyal dog began barking at the coffin. At first, people thought it was grief, but when they opened the lid, what happened next left everyone in the church stunned. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The church was draped in white lilies, their fragrance thick in the air. Candles flickered against stained glass windows, shadows stretching across rows of mourners dressed in black. At the front lay a coffin. Inside, a young soldier rested in full uniform, medals glinting faintly in the dim light. Family and friends sat in silence. Mothers clutched tissues, fathers bowed their heads, children whispered questions too heavy for their years. Grief pressed down on every heart. But one figure refused stillness. A German shepherd, seated near the coffin. His ears twitched, chest quickened, eyes locked on his master's face. At first he seemed only a silent guardian, yet beneath the calm something restless stirred, an unease no one noticed. As the priest spoke words of farewell, the German shepherd shifted. His claws clicked against the polished floor, breaking the silence. A low whine escaped his throat, drawing uneasy glances from the front row. At first, people thought it was grief. He had been the soldier's loyal companion. Surely this was mourning. But the whining grew louder, sharper, until it broke into a bark that echoed through the church. Murmurs rippled through the pews. "Poor thing," someone whispered. Another frowned, urging the handler to remove him. But the shepherd refused. He paced before the coffin, ears forward, tail rigid, barking again and again. His gaze locked on the still body inside. Children clutched their parents. Elders shook their heads. Yet beneath the grief, the dog's urgency carried something else, warning. And with each bark, the unease in the room grew heavier. At first, the family tried to soothe him. The soldier's mother reached out with trembling hands, whispering, "Hush, boy, it's okay." But the German shepherd jerked free, pawing frantically at the coffin's edge, nails scraping against the polished wood. His whines grew into desperate howls, echoing so loudly they drowned out the priest's words. Two officers stepped forward, gently tugging at his collar, but the dog braced himself with surprising strength. He growled, not in anger, but in stubborn refusal. His tail stiffened, his body rigid, as if something inside that coffin demanded his protection. The crowd grew restless. Some shook their heads, whispering about grief-stricken animals, while others shifted uncomfortably, their eyes locked on the scene. "Take him out," a man muttered. "It's disrespectful." But a woman in the back whispered, "No, he's trying to tell us something." The shepherd refused to move. His paws beat against the coffin harder, his bark breaking into a raw, urgent cry. By now, the mourners were no longer sure if this was grief or something far more chilling. The dog's barking became relentless, each sound echoing through the vaulted ceilings of the church. It wasn't the mournful cry of loss anymore. It was sharp, demanding, urgent. His paws scratched furiously at the coffin, claws leaving marks on the polished wood. The priest paused mid-sentence, his voice faltering. The congregation shifted, uncomfortably in their seats, some covering their ears, others staring with unease. "Please, someone take him outside," a man muttered from the back. But when an usher stepped forward, the shepherd lunged back toward the coffin, his body trembling with determination. A shiver rippled through the mourners. Whispers filled the air. Why won't he stop? What's he sensing? The soldier's mother clutched her chest, her tears turning into alarm. The dog barked again, louder than ever, then let out a howl that silenced the entire church. It was no longer grief they were hearing. It was a warning. And in that moment, no one could shake the feeling that the shepherd knew something no human in that room dared to believe. The German shepherd's howls refused to cease, piercing the silence until the priest finally lowered his Bible. The tension in the church was unbearable, every heart pounding with unease. The soldier's father rose slowly, his face pale, and spoke with a trembling voice. "Open it. Open the coffin." Gasps spread across the congregation. "That's madness," someone whispered. But others nodded, unable to deny the dog's strange, desperate insistence. Two pallbearers hesitated, then stepped forward. With shaking hands, they unlatched the coffin lid. The hinges creaked as the wood lifted, and the crowd leaned forward, breaths held tight. At first there was nothing, only the still form of the young soldier lying peacefully in his uniform. But then, so faint it might have been missed, his fingers twitched. A murmur shot through the church. Someone cried out, "Did you see that?" The pallbearers froze, staring wide-eyed as the soldier's chest rose. Shallow, weak, but real. Chaos erupted. The dog barked wildly, tail whipping, as if shouting, "I told you so." People screamed, sobbed, fell to their knees. The impossible was happening before their eyes. The soldier wasn't gone. He was alive. Panic swept through the church. Some fainted, others screamed, while family members surged toward the coffin, clutching the soldier's limp hands. His mother wailed, torn between hope and terror. The priest, trembling, shouted for someone to call an ambulance. Within minutes, paramedics burst through the doors, their equipment rattling as they pushed past the stunned mourners. The German shepherd refused to leave his master's side, snarling at anyone who came too close until the soldier's father pulled him gently back, whispering, "They're here to help." The medics worked feverishly. Oxygen mask pressed to, his face chest compressions delivered, IV lines inserted, all while the church echoed with prayers and sobs. The soldier's faint pulse returned, fragile but real. Gasps and cries of, "He's alive," filled the hall. Through it all, the shepherd paced anxiously, whining low, his body trembling. His eyes never left the man in the coffin-turned-hospital bed. Later, doctors would explain it as a rare medical condition, a coma-like state mistaken for death. But in that moment, no explanation mattered. Because everyone in that church knew the truth. It wasn't science that saved him. It was the dog. News of the miracle spread faster than wildfire. By the next morning, headlines blazed across newspapers and television screens. Soldier found alive at own funeral, saved by loyal dog. The story stunned the world, shaking hearts and sparking endless debates about faith, fate, and the instincts of animals. The German shepherd became a symbol of loyalty. Photos of him standing guard by the hospital bed went viral, drawing millions of views. Strangers sent letters and gifts calling him an angel in fur. Across social media, people shared their own stories of dogs who had sensed danger or saved. Lives all united by the reminder that animals feel what humans often cannot. Meanwhile, the soldier slowly regained strength. Every time he opened his eyes, the first sight he saw was his dog sitting faithfully at his side. To him, it wasn't the cameras or the headlines that mattered. It was the miracle of waking up, because his dog never gave up. Section 8. Resolution and Message, 150 words. Weeks later, the church that once held sorrow now overflowed with gratitude. The soldier, still recovering but alive, walked slowly down its aisle, his faithful shepherd at his side. People stood and clapped, tears streaming down their faces. Not for grief this time, but for a miracle no one could deny. Doctors called. It a medical anomaly. Scientists searched for explanations. But for the family, the truth was simpler. Their son was alive because his dog refused to give up, because love had spoken louder than silence. The shepherd never left his master's side, his eyes watching, every step, his body pressed close as if to remind the world, "I knew all along." And so, the story closed not with death, but with hope. A reminder that loyalty has power, faith has meaning, and sometimes, miracles come on four legs, with a bark that refuses to be ignored.